Everybody. I'm going to tell you all a little bit about the lottery, Megemillion, and some of the research I've been doing here this past couple weeks. You can check out my past videos to see more in depth about how I've got these numbers and how I've figured out like this information and data. So pretty much I was given the task to create a decision support system to find the winning numbers of Megemillion's lottery. And like pretty much we're going to eventually choose a million numbers for a hedge fund and then run those numbers to see if they match any numbers that were the winning numbers from the lottery. The null hypothesis for this was that in order to win the lottery, it's a 1 in 259 million chance, which is pretty much impossible. On the other hand, with the use of Postgres and MATLAB, many numbers can be disregarded because of the small probability of those numbers being drawn, therefore narrowing the probability of winning and increasing your chances of selecting the correct numbers. Now to do this, we choose the top 5 numbers from each column in the lottery. There will be 5 columns, that's number 1 through 5 in the lottery. Then number 6 is your 6th column, and that's like the random number that's chosen, the Powerball number 6. Now, not all the numbers are completely random in the first 5 columns. The first 5 columns, once they're chosen, they're rearranged from smallest value to highest value. Then the 6th column is chosen at random, like I said. Using the past winning lottery numbers as my data, I imported that into Postgres. I was able to use MATLAB to rearrange all the columns so it would show the top 5 columns that were repeatedly drawn numbers. The top 5 numbers in each column that were repeatedly drawn numbers. For instance, take an example for like column 1. When you run the numbers after they've been rearranged, the top 5 numbers that are drawn the most are 2, 3, 4, 1, and 6. Now that it's those smaller numbers because when they're rearranged, the smallest number will be in the first column. So it's going to be really, really rare to get numbers like 30s, 40s, and 50s, 60s, 70s in that very first column. Now you can also look at column 2. The top 5 numbers I found were 15, 12, 10, 11, and 26, which makes sense because there's a distribution that happens as you go through the different columns. Your most repeatedly drawn numbers are going to increase in size. So when you take those top 5 numbers and take a combination of all of them and multiply them by the chance of a random number in the 6th column, you get 212,000 different combinations. And that's all the different ways to rearrange the numbers, and the actual order of the numbers doesn't matter, because you can, as long as you have the correct 5 numbers plus the 6th number, the order of them doesn't matter to win the lottery. Now, how I found that 259 million, the null hypothesis, 259 million chance, I used the combination rule, and here I have it written out. Uses a couple factorials and multiplies. And then also, when you run it through MATLAB, you come out with like 2.5889 to the 8th, which is just 259 million. So to do what I found in Postgres and in MATLAB, just a little of a summary. You'll want to import all the winning numbers. I used the past 3 years. I imported all into Postgres into a database, and then I hooked it up to MATLAB through a different connection database. And then once you make that connection line between Postgres and MATLAB, you'll want to use a cursor statement and a query, and it pretty much takes the numbers from the columns and it holds them in a cursor. Then you'll want to use a cell to mat function, which will format the data so MATLAB can read it in an array. And then these rules are written for each column 1 through 6. Once that's been done, a statement can be written to create the million numbers. So you'll create a loop of a million numbers of each column. That way it'll keep looping until you have as many numbers as you want. And you can replace the million by 10,000 or 100,000, depending on how many you want. Now to write the lookup, that way when the lottery numbers come out, you can look up that lottery number in the million different combinations you've made. You'll want to write this statement down here. And where I have the X's is where you would input the actual lottery number. Take, for example, this statement right here. N1 equals 2, then 6, 8, 52, and 66. Those were the winning numbers. And when you run it, it'll look back through those million numbers to see if you actually guessed the correct numbers. Now, the interesting thing is, we're assuming that the top 5 numbers from each column, those 30 numbers, are going to be chosen by the like the balls. When the balls drop and they choose the lottery numbers. If the lottery number, like one of those, isn't in the top 30, then it doesn't matter how many different combinations you make, you're definitely not going to get it. So if all 6 of the numbers are within the top 30 that you'd chosen, then you have a 212,000 chance of winning the lottery, which is much better than 259, but you're still not guaranteed to have those 6 numbers that the lottery will choose as the winning numbers to be in your top 30 numbers. But if that is correct, if that does happen, then your chances decrease significantly. So here's just a little bit of information I found. I'm still doing a lot of research. I still have a lot more to find out. But y'all can view that in the next videos coming up. Thank you.